We light a candle of peace in this sacred place and invite you to do the same.
Good morning. George Orwell once said, "We sleep safely at night because rough men stand ready to visit violence on those who would harm us." Veterans Day celebrates the German surrender and the armistice that ended World War I. It has been 101 years since the guns fell silent on the Western Front at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. This date, 101 years ago, marks the end of the 47-day-long Meuse-Argonne campaign, the final Allied offensive of the war. This offensive was the largest operation in United States military history, involving 1.2 million American soldiers, and more than 26,000 Americans were killed in the largest and deadliest operation in World War I for the American forces. Dean Rundle's grandfather fought in this battle along with his great-uncle, who was killed in action on November 8, 1918, just 3 days prior to the end of the war. Veterans Day, which occurs on November 11th every year in the United States, originated as Armistice Day on the first anniversary of the end of World War I. November 11th became a national holiday beginning in 1938 and was renamed Veterans Day in 1954. Unlike Memorial Day, Veterans Day pays tribute to all American veterans who have served their country honorably in war or peacetime. I am extremely proud of my daughter, Corporal Grace Reis, who is currently serving as a U.S. Marine in Okinawa, Japan. If you have ever served as a member of the United States Armed Forces, thank you for your service. Medal of Honor recipient Alton Kappenberger said, "It's not the absence of fears that creates heroes, but knowing what you have to do and doing it." The people of this church are a selfless lot. You serve this community in countless ways, ranging from volunteering at local events to feed the hungry, or advocating for affordable housing and delivering firewood to those in need, and so much more. If you want to thank a veteran who has served their country, pay it forward. Do an act of selfless service for someone in need. It'll make the world a better place, and you'll feel better for doing it.
If you're interested in learning more about the history of Armistice Day, it's an orange alert, and we are choosing to follow some better roles here in our worship team, but I'm going to forget to put this off when I'm speaking. If you can look on Wednesday on our Facebook, you get to the story of the history of why the 11th was in fact the date that World War I chose to end on. It's a Christian story there. We're going to hear a couple of announcements now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Lou Harrison, Elder for Finance. This morning, I'm here to thank each of you for your financial support during this extraordinary year. The folks here at Nederland Community Presbyterian Church have dug deep to keep our church going and to support the wonderful work our church has been doing in the community. Your commitment to our mission work is inspiring. Your dedication to NCPC and the greater Nederland community reminds me, especially during this difficult time, that people still care about each other and that kindness and love are everywhere if I just look around. 2021 isn't far away. I hope you've had a chance to read the stewardship letter I recently sent you. Thank you to the folks who have already sent in a new pledge, and thank you to anyone who is prayerfully and thoughtfully considering making a pledge. Your financial gifts will help continue the amazing work we do. In February, my 6 years as Elder for Finance will be complete. It has been my pleasure and an honor to serve on session with such an active, loving, committed congregation. Thank you for supportively listening to me awkwardly talking about money and budgets and, well, more money. Thanks for listening. If you feel called, please send your pledge card into church. And remember, wash your hands, wear your mask, and be socially distanced so we can keep taking care of ourselves and each other. Be well.
Hey everyone, this is Tara Strang-Schroeder, and I am just formally inviting you to join us for fellowship today. I have been so enjoying our monthly virtual fellowships that we've been having on Zoom, and would love to get to catch up with those of you that can join us after service ends. Fellowship will be today right after service at 10:45. Check out the link that Hansen sent in the most recent newsletter. We will be keeping that link for all future virtual fellowships. So regardless of when the date is for future months, you can save that link and it'll always work. So hope I'll see you in a few minutes here. Bye.
And peace be with you.
Good morning. In Romans 8:29, Paul wrote to the Romans and told them to walk in the footprints of Jesus. Live your life like Jesus. I don't know about you, but for me that feels a little daunting. A daunting task, something I'm constantly working on. Jesus showed and tried to teach us many things while he was on earth. One was to forgive freely. This can take me a while sometimes, but I get there. And I know it's a very good thing for my heart. Love your neighbor. In a simple way, I would say, of course I love my neighbor. But I think Jesus wanted this to go a bit deeper, meaning all people. Again, I say, yes, I love my neighbor. But if I had to sit down and talk with someone who I strongly disagree with, and the person was completely unwilling to listen to me, I would struggle to love my neighbor. I would have to remind myself of the words of Jesus, Mr. Rogers, and the Dalai Lama. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Mr. Rogers said, out of difference can come the reinforcement of two important values. One is tolerance, and the other is awareness. That people who disagree over the things they hold dear can really live together in love and respect. The Dalai Lama said, if you can cultivate the right attitude, your enemies are your best spiritual teachers because they provide you with the opportunity to enhance and develop tolerance, patience, and understanding. Another way we are to walk in Jesus' footsteps is by serving others. Jesus set an example for service. Service means genuinely caring for others, not putting yourself above others. For me, one of the most powerful parts of the Bible that speaks about Jesus' service when he washed his disciples' feet. It was a great act of love, humility, and service. We are to walk in his footsteps of love, humility, and service. This way of living can be challenging at times, but Jesus is always there to take our hand, pull us back, push us forward, and sometimes even carry us. All this time molding us and shaping us for his purpose.
The scripture today comes from Romans 8, 28 through 30. We know that in all things God works for good. In all things, God can and does work for good. You know that if you are someone who loves God and if you live called according to God's purpose. See, God has known God's people from forever, and God chose them to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, so that Jesus would be the firstborn within a large family. And the ones God chose, God called for a purpose. And those God called, God has declared that their lives matter. And those whose lives have such meaning and worth, God also lifts up in glory.
For sure, but I can imagine, especially on Veterans Day, that remembering and committing and acting out consistently for peace is pretty hard, especially through military conflicts, which nominally are for a broader sense of peace. But even as a follower of Christ, doing that on a literal battlefield seems just about impossible to me. I mean, Jim, maybe others who are trained maybe can hold that in their hearts, but me, that seems just about too hard. Too hard of a challenge even to preach about. So let's bring it a little closer to the easy kinds of peace, like America in 2020, right? Talking to neighbors who just don't agree with you and won't listen. Isn't that easy to cultivate? You just said it's not easy. It's a metaphorical battleground for ideas, for society. Sometimes we're on the link of a literal battlefield. Here in your own cultural backyard, shouldn't we, as people who commit to being followers of Christ, shouldn't we remember and commit and act out as consistently as we can to create peace? Except, how do you do that? With your racist uncle, with that stranger on Facebook, with the kind lady who sits next to you at church back when we were able to be here, but who really has some other ideas about how the world should be. And by the way, it might be the best decision for your sanity, but ignoring a conflict, that isn't peace. It might be delaying or distancing the chance of a blow-up, which might be a strategy for some longer-term peace, probably not. But real peace, what the Hebrew Bible calls shalom, that is the place from where healing comes from. That is the place where wholeness grows. And God thinks we deserve that. God thinks we're capable of that and called to that. Except doing that at the precipice of the moral and spiritual destruction of a country and people, I don't know how to do that consistently. And most of you seem to struggle with it too. So maybe those examples are just too heavy to start with. And maybe we as a people, not necessarily any one of you, but I'm sure you feel this, maybe we as a people feel stuck in this. And it's too hard even to remember how we're called to peace wherever we are, much less to commit to it or act to it consistently. So we're going to zoom in to see if we can get a hold of what shalom might look like in a really small, just in a day, a small scale, and maybe take on that lesson to draw us to the wider realms. So we're going to zoom into Monday. This was my day. I had 3 goals. First, I was supposed to help a blended family of 7 who had been homeless for months. They were going to move down into their home down the hill. Pretty exciting, right? It was mom and dad with 2 kids and brother-in-law with 2 kids. Just a few bags, everything was set. I didn't even have to ask for volunteers on Monday. It shouldn't take too long. Got to borrow the food pantry van, which drives very nice. They had the studded tires on it for the snow. It was great. Everything was set up. Emergency family assistance set things up with Boulder County. The family was excited. Snap, snap should go easy. Except, I don't know if it's just me or if you do this with your plans, but when things don't go according to plan, doesn't it feel nice to just blame someone, to point it like it's their fault, it's that person's fault? And my heart can stay on target if I can put it on them. And Monday morning, everything was set up so perfectly after 50 calls and emails. And Monday morning, all our partners did the job, and the family was packed and ready and excited, and everything was going so smooth, except the cleaning crew cleaned the wrong apartment. And so their apartment wouldn't be ready for another 5 hours. Frustration, it's human. Peace, peace, peace. Soul, bring it to peace, peace, peace. Above human. And besides, I already had chores in Boulder. This wasn't a big deal. This was a solvable problem. I could continue my day. So we made a plan, a good plan, that everyone was on board with. It was good for the kids, win for the parent, win for the housing manager, win for me, win for everybody. And a plan equals peace, right? No. So the second part of my day, I was supposed to go see Susan Lutz. Susan has been kind of shackled in her retirement facility down in Boulder until a month ago, and they loosened the rules. They said you could go outside, and as long as you follow all the protocols with masks and distancing, you can see people. And I'm a people. So I was going to go down there. We set this up about 10 days ago. We set it up for me to go down and see her and be on the opposite sides. And, I would call once in a while. But real human relationship is a little bit different. We miss it. A lot of us miss it. We can't hug people, but we miss that. So, what the heck, we got a problem over here. I'll just go and do my other appointment. Except, Boulder County has recently moved up to the orange level, and that meant I wasn't allowed to see Susan. She's stuck back inside again. Just another phone call, just another I miss you all up the hill, just another answering machine that still has Frank's voice on it. But effort and intention, that paves the paves the path to peace, right? That's hard to say. That's what we think sometimes gets us there, but no, it paves the path to other things. So broken expectations get us even more frustrated. My third goal on Monday, after the family and after Susan, I was supposed to come up the hill and come back to this office and sit on my computer and write the sermon about peace in any circumstance. If you ever wonder what a pastor does in a day, it's different every day, and this kind of a day is the kind of thing we hope for. It fills us up, fills us with meaning. Except I couldn't come back up because I had to wait for the family. So I should just sit down and write on my computer, right? It's a laptop, except that battery died about 10 days ago and it hasn't come in the mail yet, so I couldn't go in the van. And I could go to a coffee shop usually, but there's no coffee shops I'm allowed to sit in. So I couldn't really do anything, which was getting frustrating and ridiculous. And the whole day of organized work went down the toilet, which isn't a big deal, but I took that breath of patience and I looked for a solution. Fixing problems is the magic ingredient to peace, right? It's not it either. I didn't solve any of my problems on Monday, and it didn't succeed in any of my intentions, and didn't follow any of my plans, and didn't get this sermon written on Monday, which is small potatoes. There are plenty of things in our life that draw us from so much more pain than broken to-do lists. But if we can practice finding peace through the small potatoes, maybe we can get grounded when the real struggles hit. So what I did, instead of my plan to practice peaceful potatoes, is just hang out with the family. I just sat down and tried to be present and not really do anything. And I learned about this family. Just about everyone who experiences homelessness at some point in their life, they've gone through a series of crises. All of us go through crises, but people like me and most of you, we have resources, whether it's financial or relational, that can get us back on our feet. But most people who have been homeless have been victimized by something. Crisis number one for this family is that their home was flooded last year. And the little boy was bragging on his dad. The water was deeper than his knees, and he put me up on his shoulder and carried me out. But I lost all my toys. They're just kids. When they look down at their shoes in kind of fear and shame, you just want to give them the whole world. You want to just help them, hold them. Except after that, he pointed out that he is really excited that he has a Minecraft toy now. I don't really know what a Minecraft is, but he was excited about his Minecraft. And somewhere between his nascent gratitude and his dad probably running through that experience for the 1,000th time in his head, maybe with his own gratitude, somewhere in there, maybe with more grace than usual, well, the scripture that Emily read said that God can work for good in all things. Even in a flood, even in lost toys, which is such a bold thing to believe. It's crazy. It's countercultural to believe that God does work something for good out of all things, except what a way not to get drowned in your life by sadness and bitterness, and to maintain a chance for real peace, to point out that God is working for something good in some things. Or, same loving dad. Do you think any dad gets it all right? No dad gets it all right. No mom gets it all right. This dad made mistakes. He knows that. Part of why they were camping in Ned, though, wasn't his mistake. Part of why they were camping in Ned crisis number 2 that would throw us off any of our own path to peace. Not too long ago, his wife died. They didn't plan on telling me that. They didn't plan on having that happen. They had intentions to love that fell apart. There wasn't anything to fix when that happened. Sometimes you just have to face the worst head on. And I knew that none of them planned to tell me that because of the way their all faces went ashen when I was just drawing in the snow with a boy who'd barely seen any snow in his life. And out of nowhere, he just said, "They found my aunt in the bathroom. I don't know what happened, but it was her time." It was her time. What a phrase for a 5-year-old to say. Who taught him to say that? Who taught him to share when he felt safe? Who helped him to be comfortable processing loss and mystery? Whoever took those steps with this little boy, that will, I am sure, make him more resilient than any other young person who's had to not face such tragedies. And it's insane to think that God could work anything good out of something so terrible, but God was working good right there. I mean, I get it. If you hear what happened and you want to think that you don't want to trust God, I get that. But when you really sink deeper into the chaos and see this boy's little strength as a glimmer of peace growing, how can you not slow down and wonder where God is working in his heart? Or number 3, I went to get lunch with the other dad while the rest of the family walked around their new neighborhood and used their gift card. And this other guy, he admitted he'd made some serious mistakes in his life. We've all made mistakes in our lives. Some of his required some consequences. He paid the costs. He got a hold of the struggles that he was facing. And to face his struggles better, he made a plan with his wife to get them and the kids and the brother-in-law and their kids to a safer place together. Because back home, there was too much dope, sex trafficking, bad influences, and bad memories. If you wanted to keep your kids safe, wouldn't you do anything? Wouldn't you even come to a place where you could camp for a while until you had the space to find a job? They got 2 jobs. Get their kids in school. They've got their older kids in online school. Meet the social workers, fill out the paperwork. They did all that. They did it all except a forest fire pushed them out of the woods. And then a snowstorm came before their place was ready. People came through to help. Some of you in this church came through to help. But I'm just going to speak just to men for a minute. Maybe some ladies resonate with this, but I think, my experience, a lot of men have this thing that's just in them. It might be nature, it might be nurture. But we experience this responsibility, this sense of responsibility of safety and protection for the people we love. We want to do that so hard that sometimes we even hurt the people we love trying to protect them. And so when we feel out of control, we feel broken, meaningless. The dad said to me, "It's like the world keeps putting hurdles up in front of him." Man, I get that. How many hurdles are you expected to jump over before you're allowed to just run your race? And so sitting there, I kind of imagine having lunch with this guy. I imagine like what faith means to him. I can imagine him saying, "Are you telling me God has a purpose for my life? If everything I feel called to keeps getting broken, if every time I figured something out, it's followed by another layer of pain and disappointment, is that the Christian message of hope?" Maybe if you've proven that you keep jumping over these hurdles, I think that's evidence that God has a great purpose for you. But are you telling me that God is making good through me when the best thing I can do right now is to wrap up this burrito and bring it back home? So his daughter's really shy, and whenever you ask her what she wants to eat, she's just going to agree with the first thing you say, but he loves her and he knows what she really wants, so he only ate half of his burrito so he could bring it back to her. And I think that's the kind of love that only good dads, and good moms, and good friends would know. So I think that is God working good through you. But you tell me that God is making good on all things, when part of why we've been going through this is that I've been fighting addiction for the last 7 years. If you're still fighting it, yeah, God's working through you. God might be doing amazing things to show people around you how committed you are, even in this thing, and will continue to do good things in you while you fight your addiction for the next 50 years. There are bigger issues in our world, especially now, than one family's drama. I get that. There's plenty of stuff in your life that feels heavier and closer. There are values of life and death at stake in the world that we are not out of the woods yet, folks. There is so much fear and chaos and pain, and sometimes I don't know how to speak peace into that. But on this day, in this time, God was speaking peace to me by just doing amazing work before my eyes. And if you have the eyes to see it, where God might be working in your life or in this world, I believe God's grace will show up even more deeply to you. If God has ever opened your eyes to see grace and mercy in this place, we invite you to make an offering, either at netherlandscpc.org or P.O. Box 467. Today's prayer comes from Diana Ostrich, a National Guard combat medic in Iraq who came home to write the book Waging Peace. Come near and hear our pain, Holy One. Make us brave enough to stand up to violence and call it a thief and a liar. In your mercy, make all things new. Make us more dedicated to the common good than to putting ourselves first. In our love, point us to kinship over killing, healing over hate. Make us plowshares, sowing peace and piecing together souls. In your power, make us fierce peacemakers. With you and with each other, with all creation, we pray the words that you taught. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And do not let us fall into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
That family had another teenage daughter who was about to share a room with 3 other children. Imagine how exciting your kids would be to have that. But she was so excited about the library across the street because she loves to read. She loves to read. While we were sitting there hanging out waiting for the apartment to be cleaned, we saw one of those boxes, the free neighborhood library boxes. We went over to go through there and see what she could read that night in her bed. I found 1984. And that's what I gave her, which was better than Slaughterhouse 5, I think. Yeah, we all agree, it's better. The thing is, she might not see her life this way yet, but if she can recognize that God is doing a good thing in her wild life, and if a book might lead her, or a bed, or a friend, or a kind word can prepare her to hear God's voice calling her to do a good thing in the wild world, what better foundation for peace could she have? And how might that foundation help those other 3 kids? And how might those other 3 kids who are resilient might be able to help other people as they grow and create peace in some future world? That's my hope and that's my prayer. That's my charge for all of you. To look upon the world with faithful eyes for where you can create peace in this one wild and wonderful life.